Thing stop streaming. There we go. Okay.
You are tuned in to What a Baltimore Online Radio. Please note that the views and opinions expressed are of the host and not of Lady J Media. Thank you and enjoy the show. Thank you for joining Mental Wellness Coaching with DWendell. Your session begins right now.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. What a wonderful, simply wonderful day. The opportunity to be a part of this day, which has never been here before, this particular day. The question is, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? At the end of the day, will you be in a position to sit down and say, I was glad I was here? Just a few housekeeping notes. Um, my cell phone number, 240-626-6849. You can call me and we can have a conversation about whatever you're dealing with. And the my email, heartmindconnection@icloud.com. Reach out so we can have a discussion. Today we are talking about this notion of free will choices, making choices, and uh, how those choices impact you. That's so very important. I want to share with you, or I am sharing with you a saying that I have, and it is this: happiness comes from within, and success follows, not the other way around. Sometimes we find that we believe that if we can earn enough money, if we can change enough, if we can do all these external things, that our happiness will come from those things. And that's just not the way it is. Uh, we begin. I have 3 points, three things. 3 points I want to make with you today. The first one is first statement, and we're going to talk a little bit about each one of these. You are free to make choices about how you focus your attention. Okay, you're free to make choices about how you focus your attention. And this affects how you focus your attention. This affects how the chemicals and proteins and wiring of your brain change and function. Again, so the short of it is where you focus your attention, where you're spending your time thinking, what you're thinking about, it affects the outcome of who you are and what you're doing. The relationship, the relationship between what you think and how you understand yourself, your beliefs, your dreams, your hopes and thoughts has a great impact on how your brain works, which raises a question, well, let me finish this statement. Remember, remember that 75 to 98%, 75 to 98% of all mental, physical, and behavior illness comes from your thought life. What do you think about? Right now, what's on your, when you wake up in the morning, when you wake up in the morning or before you lay down in the evening, what do you think about? I made it a point as far as going to bed in the evening. I tried to make it a point not to watch any movies or TV shows or anything like that because I do not want to go to sleep resting, thinking about what Denzel Washington did, or what Ma Rainey, or whatever, any of those things. I choose to have my sleeping thoughts because what happens, our subconscious brain, our subconscious mind works 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And what our subconscious takes in are the things that we've seen throughout the day, are things that we add to our subconscious, which we're going to talk about more later. And the subconscious is working through, attaching, building things off of that thought process. So given that, the question remains, because because you know that what you think about, what you focus on, affects and impacts and directs how you act and what you do, should you not be more careful about what you think about? Okay, for example, we take number two, the second part, and for example, we take facts, facts of everyday life, things that happen, this happened, that happened. We take the facts and experiences. Experience. This is what I experienced. Someone said something. Someone did something. I did something for someone. Those are experiences, actual, tangible experiences, and events of life, and events of everyday life. The events. Speaking on events, remember we said earlier, you cannot control. You cannot control the circumstances and events that come up in your life. You have no control of that. You cannot direct that. The only thing you can control is your reaction to that event. Your reaction. How do you react to that event? And your reaction is going to be it's a sequential uh, uh, timeline, as it were. As your reaction comes from what has been planted in your subconscious. Okay, um, listen, how we think and process our experiences, how we think and process our experiences, our thoughts produce words and behaviors, which in turn stimulates more thinking and choices. I'll say it again. How we think and process what we see, how we think about it and process it, and how we process our experiences. You know, people interpret things in so many different ways, and the way you think, understand, the way you think, the way you interpret that determines how you react to that. So if you interpret it, for example, I had a client. I've been in practice over 30 years, and I've had a client in the past that whenever something happened to her or in her life, she would interpret that as her being victimized. Somebody did something to her. And being a victim, that meant watch how this unfolds. Her being the victim, the perpetual victim always, which meant she had to always hold up her defense or be in a defensive posture and stance. So any time anyone said anything to her, she took it as an opportunity to question and doubt. If someone would say to her, "Good morning, have a pleasant day," her thought process would be, "What you up to? Why why are you trying to pull something off? You understand? Or what are you trying to get from me? Or what are you trying to get out of me?" So that was how she processed her information, and which put her in a defensive posture. Remember, we said many times that every action you take, everything you do, standing up in the chair, wiggling your fingers, waving, everything begins as a thought. You think about it first, and then the thought is sent to the brain, and the brain instructs the body what to do. So if you think I'm gonna wiggle my finger I'll move my hand from this position. I think about it first. It goes to my brain. My brain sends the message to my body, and it sends it to my hand, and now I move my fingers. There was a process. Um, that's the second thought. And again, I want to reiterate that how we take facts and how we interpret facts, what we see as facts, experiences and events of life, and we assign meaning to them. And then we go, and then we move forward with an action or a response. The third point is the first point was you are free. That just reviewing a little bit as we go along. You are free to make choices about how you focus your attention and what you think about. Part of what we do at Heart, One Mind, One Heart, we teach how you can capture your thoughts before it becomes an issue. In other words, think about what you are thinking about because we're thinking all day long. And once you put a thought in the thinking process, in the brain process, the brain is going to instruct the body how to carry it out. So if you're thinking that you've been disrespected, if even if you're thinking um, someone is very kind and loving to me, those are good thoughts. And your brain, again, is going to instruct your body to respond to that. And we're going to bring out a few interesting facts here shortly. Number one, you're free to make choices. That's your freedom and your right, and no one can stop you from making choices. We're going to unpack this idea of choices and what happens with these choices. And that's number one. Number two, um, how we interpret how we interpret a fact or an experience or an event. The way we interpret it, we assign meaning to it. And when we assign a particular meaning to it, that actually becomes a part of our DNA. I've assigned, in other words, for example, uh, I told you about the client I had that just constantly saw herself as a victim. So everything anybody approached her with or said to her, she assigned a protective mode of operation to it. I had another lady, we'll call her Jane. Jane came to my office, and she had recently lost her husband of being over 40 years of marriage. And she had gone into a severe depression. She didn't want to come out. She didn't want to go around, severely depressed. And what we did, we sat there and we talked with Jane about what she was assigning, what meaning was she assigning to the loss, and how it was causing her to not to want to take a next step. And the way we helped Jane address that, we not only did we talk, but I listened to her. And not only was it listening and talking, we 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 reassigned with Jane some of her interpretation for what had happened. And it turns out Jane was taking a lot of the blame for his passing on herself. If she had said this one more time, if she had spent one more night with him in the hospital, if she had not burnt the grits that time, or cooked the rice bad that time, or misboiled the water, or all of these things. So she was taking she was assigning his passing to something that she could have done differently. So again, the notion was that she was uh, focusing focusing on the wrong aspect of things. Which brings us to point number three today. Um, Research and studies over years has shows that DNA, your DNA, actually, watch this, actually changes shape according to our thoughts. Your DNA, your genetic makeup, everything about you, your very being, changes shape according to our thoughts. Listen, watch this. As you think those negative thoughts about the future, as you think those negative thoughts about the week ahead, as you think those negative thoughts about what a person might say or do, I want to give a quick account, a biblical story, which you're aware of. It was the prodigal son. And when that young man decided he was going to go back home after he had spent all his time in the pigsty, when he decided he was going to go back home, he was rehearsing as he was going back home. I'm going to say this to my father. I'm going to say that to my father. I got to put it this way. I'm going to apologize, yada. And it went on and on. So when he finally, as he got back home, his father met him before he got to the house and kissed him. The Bible says that he kissed him on his neck. And he did not give his son a chance to explain. All his son would say, "Well, I did this. I'm sorry." The father said, "Forget all of that. You're home. You're home now. Let's have a celebration." So again, my point is, when we imagine, when we think in our thoughts in our own mind, what is this person going to say? What is that person going to say? What does the future hold? When we think these things, even even when we have there's an absence of concrete stimulus or concrete thought, we don't know why we feeling the way we feeling. We don't know why we're thinking the thoughts we're thinking. There is no concrete reason. And I know most of you are mature enough to know the old saying that when you worry and fear and think about something all the time, 99% of the time that thing does not happen. But even when you're carrying all this in your mind, listen, that toxic thinking will change the wiring of your brain in a negative direction. and throw your mind and body into stress. Now, again, let me share the negative thinking, the negative thoughts, the fearful thoughts. And let me go away for a moment. This notion of fear, this notion of fear and anxiety is a learned behavior and reaction. You learn that when we were born, God originally designed and designed, and we're born with a natural affinity to love. Our natural response is to love and to care for. That is one reason that babies, they don't judge you. You can hug a baby and they'll hug you back and smile at your jokes. Or I'm telling babies jokes, come on. But they would laugh and they would have children have an innocence about them. Over the years, they learn to fear. So we learn to fear, which is not a natural response. And again, so when we hold negative thoughts in our mind, in our thought processes, um, that changes the whole wiring of the brain and throws your mind and body into stress. And we know what happens with stress, right? With stress, we're dealing with heart palpitations, we're dealing with adrenaline being released in the brain and going into the body. And the purpose for adrenaline, we talked about it before. The purpose for adrenaline is to help you, to give you some extra strength or whatever to deal with that particular situation. That particular situation, you've heard of people having extra strength to run into a fire, pull someone out of a burning building, or whatever the case may be. That adrenaline is released to do that. The adrenaline released in your body is for a moment. It's for that particular event. Adrenaline is released when you see a car, if possible, cut in front of you and you swerve to one side. Adrenaline gives you the ability to react and process an event quickly. However, when you hold on to it, which creates stress, when you hold on to it, the adrenaline remains in your body, and every time you think about the event or the person or circumstance, every time you think about it, that adrenaline remains in you or is released again anew and afresh in you, and it causes health problems. There is process. Um, Toxic thinking wears down the brain. Toxic thinking wears down the brain. What do we mean by that? At the end of a day, or at the end of an event, or or in a particular thing or situation, you find yourself and you just can flop in a chair. I'm so tired. I'm so worn out. And if you would take a moment and reflect back on what you had been thinking about prior to this feeling or this wearing out. If you think about what you were thinking about and how you were responding to what you were thinking about, then you realize it was the toxic thinking. It was the toxic thinking. Um, Thinking and feeling anger. There is, I'm coming back to the point. There are negative emotions. Excuse me. There are negative emotions that we deal with. Well, we really don't deal with them well. When I speak of negative emotions, I'm speaking about anger, um, um, fear, Uh, these negative emotions um, wear you down, and they cause the DNA in our bodies to change shape according to what you're thinking and feeling. Thoughts lead to feelings, lead to reactions, lead to behavior. We teach our program, our whole process, the whole program that we share and teach is how to capture that thought before it gets to or creates a pattern in your thinking. You can replace negative thoughts before they become thoughts. You can capture, literally capture a negative thought and switch it. Um, Listen, the DNA responded by the negative thought, the toxic thing, the constantly negative thinking. Pay attention uh, um, in the process of an hour or two. Just take an hour after this broadcast. Just take an hour somewhere in your day and think about what you are thinking about. Think about it. Are you thinking about well, I got to do this and I got to do that. I got to do this. I got to do that. So you are living this lie of multitasking. Understand? I called it a multitasking lie, and I'm not going too far from what I'm thinking. When I say that multitasking is a lie, it's because often when you multitask or call yourself multitasking, you're stopping one thing and you're starting to think about another. You're stopping that and you're starting to think about another, or you're thinking about them all at the same time. How do you do that? How do you do that and one not come up short? Which robs us, which which robs us of this wonderful notion of being mindful, being in the present, doing what you're doing at the time, enjoying what you are enjoying at the time. You know, I've heard there was an expression that said that the person whose work is never done, they always bringing work home, doing work in the car, just always working. It's something going on there. There's a problem. There's a problem in the heart and in the mind and in the thoughts. Um, so we going. Um, the DNA again responded. Your DNA responds. Your body, your brain responds uh, by tightening up and becoming shorter and shorter, switching off many DNA codes, which reduce quality expression. It again, the thoughts, the thinking, uh, uh, because it's negative, because it's not constructive, because it's not positive, and everything that's done that we do is not positive and constructive. And when we allow that to come into our spirit, as it were, and into our DNA, it reduces the quality of your expression. In other words, when you respond to someone, when you're trying to instruct someone, when you're trying to teach or share, the quality of that expression is lost. You lose some quality, so you don't express yourself as clearly or as well as you think you are. So we feel, so again, um, uh, we feel shut down by negative emotions, and our body feels too. You just feel worn out. You just feel worn out. That's the third point. Um, and the fourth point is just like the negative shutdown and poor quality of the DNA that we just experienced or that we experienced, it is reversed by feelings of love, joy, appreciation, and gratitude. We could break each one of those down, but I want to look at just two of them. One is appreciation. One of the challenges that we have as mature adults, the quote unquote aging senior population, one of the things that we struggle with, but we don't talk about, is we don't feel appreciated. We don't feel like we're needed anymore. We are pushed to the side. And that is a very difficult thing to deal with. That is a very difficult thing to deal with. And once we or as we begin to feel more and more irrelevant, it's hard. I have a dear friend of mine, um, never a client, but a dear friend. Her daughter it's her only daughter, her only child is getting older. She's turning 18. She's about to. Now she's not 18 now, but she's getting older. You know, the whole thing comes around: driver's license, liking boards, whatever. All of that comes. And the mother has said in the past, "Oh, what happened to the years? She doesn't come to me as much, yada yada yada," and it goes on and on. So we begin to feel unnecessary, unappreciated. Um, that's part of it, which brings me, which helps me to say, to those of us who are seniors, those of us who are baby boomers, we have to make sure we stay in the game, as it were. We stay in the game. And this is part of one mind, one heart that we deal with as we talk to older, mature people. Um, how do you stay relevant? How do you stay relevant? How do you make yourself stay active? Because over time, we just get pushed further and further back to where we just give up. Um, so again, that's part of the training and teaching. The other word I want to look at just a little bit is this attitude of gratitude, being thankful, being thankful. So often people have this sense of entitlement. You know, I get this because I'm entitled to it. I have a right to it. Someone should be giving it to me anyway. That's not an attitude of gratitude. Gratitude is being thankful. I'm thankful for anything anybody does to me. Anything. I'm learning to be more thankful. So if someone allows me to come in front of them in traffic, I'm thankful. Throw my hand up. Thank you, man. Thank you so much, young lady. Thank you. Someone opens a door for me. Thanks. I appreciate that. And especially now, in getting older, when I open doors for people and they're younger people, you know, it came to me, they started saying, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So, though society has a way of reminding you that you're moving on. Thank you, sir. Anyway, um, so having it reverses again When we take on these um, negative thoughts, when we learn how to switch that. Now, remember we said earlier, it is not just positive thinking. Positive thinking, and I'm not talking about that. I'm specifically saying when you focus, when you take capture those negative thoughts that are negatively impacting your body. It's not just it's impacting your body, your very being, your very life. Stress kills. Stress kills. And it's not a respecter of persons. It's not a respecter of persons. Um, as older people, we have to know that these diseases that seem to come so readily on us, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, hypertension, that's not an automatic part of getting older. That doesn't necessarily come with the territory. What it comes with, what those things come with are stress. What those things come with are negative thoughts and attitudes and behaviors. Those are what brings, remember, research has shown that 75 to 98%, 75 to 98% of all mental, physical, and behavior illnesses come from your thought life. What are you thinking about? What's on your mind? I come back to that. So I want to rehash what we covered today, please. The first point was you're absolutely free to make all the choices about how you focus your attention. How you focus your attention. Um, there there's a song that was out years ago, and I don't know exactly the name of the song, but one of the lines in the song was that when your feelings overflow, overflow the banks of constraint, when you can no longer control your feelings and your thoughts automatically go to a negative or a bad thought, then you take on all those elements that come with it. You invite depression. You invite anxiety. Not only do you invite it, you open the door for it because of how you are thinking. We again, one mind, one heart, we show you, we teach you how to capture that thought. You know, it takes it takes about 20 it takes about 63 days, about 63 days to change one thought, one negative thought. And we teach about how to do that. Anyway, yes. Um, the first point was you are free to make choices and about how you focus your attention. Because the way you focus your attention, it affects how the chemicals and proteins and wiring of your brain change and function. What you focus on is what will grow. What you focus on is what will grow. Secondly, WhatsApp audio. Secondly, excuse me. Secondly, secondly, we take our facts, experiences, and events of life and assign meaning to them without thinking. We take facts, excuse me, We take facts, experiences, and events of life and assign meaning to them. We assign the meaning. We give it power. The things that happen, you cannot control the circumstances and events that come up in your life. You can't control it. You assign meaning to it. When you assign meaning to it, then it becomes part of your subconscious. As part of your subconscious, when this event or something similar to it comes up, then the meaning that you've assigned to it and the feeling that you've assigned to it attaches to the thought that comes up. That's how negativity happens. So again, we take facts, experiences, and events of life and assign meaning to them. Um, Thirdly, the third point was um, the way we think actually changes the DNA structure of our very being, which impacts our bodies in a negative way, depending on what we're thinking and how we're holding on to it. So it impacts your immune system. It impacts negatively your ability to heal. It impacts how you react and respond to each other and people. Um, it wears, for lack of a better expression, it just wears you out. At the end of the day, you're more tired because of what you have been thinking and processing than you are actually physically tired. Just thinking so much about it. Thinking, overthinking, fearful, worried about tomorrow, worried about what this one is going to say or that one is going to say. How is my child going to be at school? Who's protecting her? Who's protecting him? How is I talked to a mother recently, and her adult son is about to relocate to a large city. African American young man. He's about to relocate to a large city, and we know that sometimes the cities can are not kind to African American young men, young women. Not kind to African Americans now. It is those kind of things can exhaust you. Even when we get caught up to some degree in the political system. When you allow politics to drive and direct you, I'm not saying one way or the other how you should vote or what you should do. Understand for sure that there are forces out here that want to control your thinking. They want to control your mind. They want to tell you what to think. And based on certain things, based on certain demographics, uh, they don't want you to have certain rights to certain things. And again, if we allow our thought processes to get caught up in this foolishness, then we're going to pay a price for this. We pay your body pays a price for everything you think. Everything you think. Remember, I keep coming back to this. 75 to 98% of all our illnesses come from our thoughts, come from what we're thinking about, what we're thinking from your thought life. What do you spend time thinking about? One of the things we teach at One Mind, One Heart is, when do you find time or make time for you? When you sit down, lie down, reflective thinking. Now, I'm not talking about sitting down and thinking about how I'm gonna pay this bill and how I'm gonna pay that bill and what I'm gonna do to this. And not talking about that. I'm talking about introspection. When you sit down and think about, for a few moments, how fearfully and wonderfully you are made. When you think about how gifted, how special you are. You are special. You are a highly intelligent, creative individual. And over the years of our lives, this creativity, this uniqueness is educated out of us. It's educated out of us. Let me give you a simple example in these last few moments we have together. Simple example. Who taught you to walk or to talk or to appreciate color? Who taught you that? It was innate. You were born with the ability to learn. You were born with the ability to create. I had an experience when I was in college one time. I was in grad school at Howard University, Go Bison, and we were working on a project. And part of the assignment was to come up with a banner or a flyer for a particular event. So I went to my office and I created something, made something, yada, yada, yada. And when I came out with my idea, another student, another student of a particular persuasion came out and said that idea is not good. That's not right. I mean, it's okay, but look at my idea. And before I knew it, I said, yeah, your idea is, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Not long after that, my professor, a lady, uh, came to me and said privately, don't you ever let anyone tell you that your idea is less than anyone else's, especially less than hers. Don't ever let anyone do that. My point is, we have learned so readily to cower to what we perceive, to what someone has told us is superior intellect, superior thought. And it's a lie. It's a lie. You are a genius. You are highly intelligent. Now, understand what you're doing now that may be negative. It may be alcohol, it may be drugs, it may be overreaching. That is what you have become. You become that sequentially by your thoughts and your beliefs. That is not who you are. That is not who you are. That is what you've learned to become. That is in the same category of learning to fear, of learning to cower, of learning to be a victim. You are not that. As a matter of fact, as we all know, that may just be a chapter in your book. And because you woke up this morning, when I said I said when we began, what a wonderful day. My God, what a beautiful day. Look at this day pregnant with opportunity for growth, for personal development, for happiness. Happiness. And when I talk about happiness, you know me well enough by now to know I'm not talking about this euphoric existence. I'm talking about happiness. I'm talking about being a victor, overcoming my own negative thoughts, my own listening, listening to what someone says about me. You're not what they say about you. You're not that. So, again, I thank you for your time today. Remember, number one, you're free to make choices about how you focus your attention and where you focus your attention. That's number one. Number two, we assign facts, experiences. We take facts, experiences, and events of life and assign meaning to them. Be sure you're assigning positive meaning. It's everything. Every every cloud has a silver lining. So everything that comes into your life, there is something positive in that. Call me, we can talk about it. That's number two. Number three, um, um, remember back to one. Remember, 75 to 98% of our all illnesses come from our thought life. Number three, um, your thought life affects your behavior and your expectations and your body. It weakens you. Fourthly, everything that negativity tears down in your life, everything is restored or can be reversed by taking on feelings. And remember, feelings come from thoughts. So when you change your thinking, you affect and change your feelings. So all of that negativity can be reversed by feelings of love. Choose love. Choose love. Feelings of joy. Choose to be not euphorically happy, but choose to be joyful. Because everything, there's joy in everything. Be appreciative. Thank you. Thank you for what you did. Thank you for calling me. I appreciate you even calling me during this pandemic times and people being separated from each other. Thank you for calling me. And take on an attitude. Be grateful. No one has to do anything for you. They don't have to. So be grateful for whatever they do. Again, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Give me a call, 240-626-6849. Send me an email, heartmindconnection at icloud.com. Thank you so much. And we appreciate what the radio station is allowing us to do and reaching out to you. Thank you so much, Lady J. Charlene. Have a good one, guys. Talk to you next week.